You're listening to CinemaJaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from CinemaJaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye the Movie Guy. And this week on CinemaJaw, Matt, we look to make some money very fast, very quickly, as we cover our top 5 favorite movies about just that.
Getting rich quick.
Getting rich quick, which usually involves some type of scheme.
You know, I thought podcasting would be my get rich quick scheme.
14 years later, Matt, here we are.
Yeah, rich as hell.
Not quickly.
Rolling in it.
Didn't do it quickly.
Sometimes when I go to bed, I just pull the money up over.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Just kind of roll around, thrash around a little bit.
We're doing this topic because it ties into a movie we are reviewing this week.
Indeed. We are reviewing 2 movies, in fact, Ryan. Quiz Lady, hence the tie-in, and Pricilla.
Right.
Not Pricilla, Queen of the Jungle.
No.
Not to be mistaken.
Priscilla Presley, the new film by Sophia Copola.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about. We're doing all this with a great guest who's returning to CinemaJaw. Our second guest in studio, Brent Kado, who is finally returned. We haven't seen Brent in, 2 years?
2 years, yeah. And we'll have to ask him when he comes on how many appearances this is. My guess is 5?
Oh, at least. I think higher. I agree. I think higher. I'd say somewhere around 7 or 8 for Brent.
Yeah, Brent's an annual guest to talk about the Comedy Film Festival, and we were remiss last year. I don't know what happened.
I know. Missed Brent last year, but he's back.
He's back.
Sitting alongside us here. Brent will be on shortly. Besides that, we are going to play trivia. Brent always loves to play trivia against Matt Kay. Very competitive.
Yes.
And in honor of Quiz Lady, the movie we'll be reviewing, we're playing Quiz Lady movie trivia. Think of movies with quiz or lady in the title.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sound fair?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Plus, Matt, it is November 1st. The 11th month of the year already.
This is the worst day of the year. You know what it's like? I almost hesitate to make this analogy, but I'm going to anyway. It's like when you're right after sex, because everything is building up to Halloween, right? And then Halloween, it's like frenzy, and we're so happy, and there's candy going everywhere, and everybody's happy and dressed up. And then it's November 1st.
And it's all downhill from there.
I mean, at least after Christmas, you got like just a few more days until New Year's. You're still with your family. Everything's going great. And after New Year's, you got the rest of the year to look forward to. Everything's new and fresh. After Halloween, November 1st sucks.
Wow. You're really sour on November. I didn't know this.
Worst day of the year.
Holy
cow. The only good thing about November 1st, aside from getting to podcast with Brent Kado again, is the fact that all the Halloween decorations are on sale. So go get your skulls and bats. And
it's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
That's a nice tip for the Jawheads, Matt.
Good tip.
Well played. Well, since it is a new month, November, we are celebrating someone new. And this is a movie I have already seen, and I wanted to cover it this week. You didn't get a chance to see this new film entitled The Holdovers. I caught it at Toronto, and I absolutely loved it. And so I said, well, we'll give it an extra week. Let Matt catch it and do a proper review where we've both seen it. But in honor of The Holdovers, which stars one Paul Giamatti, November is Paul Giamatti month here on CinemaJaw.
We should celebrate with a nice Merlot.
I am not drinking any fucking Merlot.
There is classic Giamatti in the movie Sideways.
I have a feeling we're going to be hearing that a lot this month.
I love it. I love it. It put him on the map. In fact,
it did.
I wanted to ask you before we read our Paul Giamatti fact, do you remember, was it Sideways where that's when you knew who Paul Giamatti was? Or
I think so, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's probably his breakout role.
Breakout, for sure. He had done some movies prior to that. And there's one that I'm going to set up a clip for later on in the show at the break that was a very big movie for him, for sure. I don't want to give it away yet, but it was a very big movie, but it wasn't quite the size of Sideways.
Yeah. And, you know, he's had kind of a roller coaster of a career, because 5 years ago he was nowhere, and now he's like back in full swing.
That happens with a long acting career.
It does.
So.
I saw him doing an Allstate commercial dressed as Ben Franklin or something. I'm like, oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Look, I love Paul Giamatti.
I do
He can
too.
do no wrong. And I'm telling you now, Jawheads, he may get an Academy Award nomination for The Holdovers. It's that strong of a performance. So we're going to kick this thing off with a Paul Giamatti fact. Good time to mention, Phil is not with us this week. Week off for Phil.
Yeah. Just taking a week off.
Paul Giamatti fact, Matt.
Here we go. I'm reading it this week. Phil, I know I can't do it as well as you. Paul Giamatti has a famous father, but not because of the movies or acting. Paul's father, Bart, was appointed president of Yale University at the age of 40, the youngest person to ever hold the position. After leaving his position at Yale, Bart Giamatti was appointed MLB commissioner. Really?
I'm stunned.
How do you do? Wow, that's a transition. I didn't read this fact ahead of time. He was appointed the MLB commissioner, though he had only held the position for 5 months. He passed away on September 1st, 1989. He managed to make one memorable move during his tenure when he banned Pete Rose from the game amid allegations that he was betting on baseball.
I had no idea.
Bonkers.
I'm stunned. Paul Giamatti's dad
Wow.
is the guy who banned Pete Rose from baseball. I was oblivious to this fact.
I have a Pete Rose rookie card that lost a few $100 when he made that move. So I got a bone to pick with the late Mr. Giamatti.
Wow. Interesting.
Very fascinating. Great fact.
It is. Paul Giamatti month off and running here on CinemaJaw, Matt.
Wouldn't have it any other way, Ryan.
So this is exciting. We get to welcome back Brent Kado to CinemaJaw. Like we said, probably about his 8th appearance, still running the Chicago Comedy Film Festival. Brent, welcome back to CinemaJaw.
Thanks for having me again. Great to be back. Last year we did miss. This upcoming year is our first live ticketed event since COVID. So our promotional efforts are sort of, hit or miss ourselves. And we're super excited to be back at Columbia College in a week or so.
Now, in the meantime, when you guys weren't doing the ticketed event, you guys are still doing the screenplay contest, right? So explain that to us.
Right. So we're actually just doing the screenplay event here at Columbia on the 12th of November, which is a table read of the winning 2 screenplays, which are excellent screenplays from 2 Los Angeles-based Writers Guild writers with great credits all the way from Night Court to James Corden Show and
wow.
a bunch of Nickelodeon shows.
Not the new Night Court, right?
No, the new Night Court.
The new Night Court.
Yes, she just wrote, and she's back writing, now that the strike's over, she's back writing in the room for them currently, and she's also a Columbia grad, so we're really excited to have them. Actors from Los Angeles and Chicago will read these scripts, bring them to life, and everyone is welcome to grab a ticket and come see the event at Columbia on the 12th.
That's awesome. So how many scripts do you get roughly? I mean, don't need an exact number.
Do you read them all? I mean, do you have a team?
Interns do most of the reading. Columbia College seniors and graduate students that are in screenwriting work on them, mostly Columbia College. We do have some DePaul and Northwestern too, but because of my position at Columbia, it's easy to get interns. And no, I don't read all of them. I look over all the ones that get rated over like 7 on a scale out of 10 from the interns. And we get hundreds, many hundreds of scripts that we have to look through. And it's a great, and these are just comedy, so that's
Full
kind
length?
of limiting.
Feature length? A mix.
So for the table read on the 12th, we have a pilot and a feature, so a TV pilot, script, and a feature, but also we do shorts and the feature. And yeah, it's an incredible amount of content to go through. Like every festival, there's a lot to go through, but this is a little different because it's reading, and the interns are incredibly well educated at reading these and do a great job.
How long does it take you to read a feature-length script? Because I used to run a little short film festival, and even curating that, hours and hours. So one script, about like 90 pages, how long?
90 minutes. You should be able to, if you're good at it, you should be able to do a page a minute, like...
They are spaced out pretty well.
Yeah, it's the same, if you're familiar with those that are familiar with making a film, a page should basically be the equivalent of a minute on screen. So reading
roughly,
it,
yeah.
I'm sure that people that read hundreds of scripts a week, those that are, agents and agent assistants in LA probably can do it much faster. But
so here's the scene I have in my head, and you tell me how accurate this scene is, or if it ever actually happened. Brent Kado sitting at a desk, his feet crossed in front of him up on the desk. He's leaning back in an office chair, holding a script. Suddenly, he throws the script across his desk. It lands down. And he's just like, mind blown. Has that ever happened?
not with the script.
No?
with movies that I've seen for the festival, for sure, I've been like, oh, wow, this is incredible. Like immediately texting my wife and telling her, all right, we got a movie, we got the feature. Scripts, I mean, I'm much more of a visual person, and reading a script is not really my, sweet spot when it comes to being creatively stimulated. So, but certainly I think I do get invigorated.
Do you keep your feet crossed in front of you on your desk, though?
No.
That part wasn't right either?
Be a emergency room visit waiting to happen.
He falls back on his chair.
Comedy. Ta-ta, that would be the script.
Yep.
A man reading a script with his legs up falls back. And but certainly I read scripts and I go through it and I'm like, wow, this is really good. And then I go look at somebody's bio and look at their education and what they're doing right now, and see that they're, just starting out to get credits in the industry, and you can really tell that they're
going somewhere.
Yeah, they're right. They've written something else that's good, and obviously other people have seen that. Now I see it, and I think that always, much like with watching a film, and you're like, oh wow, this is really good, and then you
hear that director's name again.
Yeah, and you start like digging more into it, and then you look at the actors, and you're like, oh, they've been on a couple shows, or they've had a small role in, a movie that I recognize that was out last year, and that really like gets you jazzed. And I think that's one of a few reasons why we keep doing the festival, is that, that's really invigorating to have that happen.
So what do the winners of the contest get? What is their prize?
The main prize is this table read. So for someone that's written a script, to be able to hear it read out loud by professional actors is a huge bonus for them. It's a big plus. They can set that up for themselves, but that's a lot of work for a writer to be able to do that. The woman that's written the script that writes for Night Court, she's right now back writing for them. She has no time. She's on the job, so to speak, 15 hours a day, all day, as they're trying to finish up whatever this new season or next round of episodes will be. So she doesn't have time to set up a table read with professional actors and do all the casting and set everything up, do a rehearsal. We've done a rehearsal already for both scripts.
Do you record them? Record
them, yep. So we've done that too. We'll do that this year. So yeah, they can see that. Both the writers for this table read series will be there in person, so they'll get to hear it as well. But recording,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's the main prize. We also have a lot of contacts, agency manager contacts in Los Angeles through our 15 years of working on festivals and working in the industry. So we have some, if the script fits what a certain manager or agent's looking for, we definitely bring that to those agents and show them that. These two writers probably are a little bit beyond needing agents. I think they both probably have agents. And
yeah, if you're writing for Night Court, yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
you've made it.
She was an intern of mine of the film festival years ago, and also a Columbia College graduate. Went on to work for Corden and Fallon, and then now is writing for Night Court. And she's one of the few students, again, something that invigorates you is when you see students too, and you're like, oh, that they're going somewhere. Like you can just see it in the moments that you have them in class or that they intern for you. So yeah, she's incredible.
That's awesome.
It is.
So for people in Chicago, we have a lot of young filmmakers that listen and have been past guests. If they're listening to this, it's probably a great place to network and meet people there. So where should they go online to find out information, get tickets, all that good stuff, Brent?
Yes. So one thing that we've done that's a little bit not Google friendly or search friendly, but our production company is flowfeelfilms.com. That's the website, Flowfeel Films. We've put all of our festivals and everything that we're doing under one umbrella just to make it easier, so we don't have like 10
different websites.
10 different websites,
yeah.
10 different social media accounts. So everything's under Flowfeel. Flowfeel Films is the actual website, which has been our website for 15 years. So we just keep that. And there's a ticket link on there to be able to go. That's on Chicago Table Reads, I think is what you go to. But it's flowfieldfilms.com. And we've moved everything under that umbrella because we're making some major changes in the spring, and everything will kind of just fall under Flowfield and be
it's
be
convenient.
housed there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the show notes for everyone.
Sure.
So they can just click a button and go.
Is there some type of after party, that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, there is an after party, and it's at this bar in Chicago. I can't remember the
That
name.
really narrows it down.
That was a
comedy.
joke. Hopefully you got it. It's right there by Columbia. It's like the address.
One of those.
It's like 523 bar.
Oh, yeah.
You just Google it. You'll
Yeah.
find it right away.
All right.
523 bar.
But
that's not it, even close.
Yeah.
It's right down there by Columbia. Come to the event and follow us all.
That's
there.
what I was going to say. That's
Yeah.
the point. If you come to the event, everybody's
Right.
going to the after
It'll-
party.
Don't
so
just
forth.
show up to the after party. I
Right.
mean, who does that? You got to go to the event first.
Yeah, you got to know what you're talking about when you go to the after party, right? Yeah, but yeah, it's all on the event page, and it'll be everywhere at the event. You can see it, and but certainly, come to the after party. Great place to meet people. The event's a great place to meet people, and love to see you there on the 12th.
Do it, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great. We might have to go out there.
I know.
So-
It's been a while since I've been to the Comedy Film Fest, so
Yeah, I mean, come out and enjoy. Yeah, it's a great time. The comedy, there's the screenings. It takes a different kind of muscle to sit and listen to something be read, right?
Oh, I love a table read.
You do? Have you
I
been
do.
to them before?
No, but
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
you've
no, I
seen it.
have.
Yeah,
I
okay.
have. But it's kind of akin to podcasting. And I've listened to
Yeah.
table reads as in podcast form, and I think they're great.
Very popular.
Yep.
Or they're not very popular, but they're
It's a niche.
It's a niche,
Right.
yeah.
And it did blow up a little bit during the pandemic. So,
Yeah.
Certainly.
There's
Like
the
a lot of
Blacklist
things.
podcast that they do all the scripts that haven't been made. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they do. Blacklist is great, and they probably do. They do a lot of live events, of course, but probably during the pandemic, they did some table read podcasts that were like super
Popular,
because of the pandemic. But
We all were doing nothing but podcasting.
I mean,
yeah.
get rich quick.
Yep.
that's
Rolling
the
in it.
theme. Brent, we are celebrating Paul Giamatti. I want to end this interview asking you, do you have a favorite Paul Giamatti movie?
I don't necessarily have a favorite Paul Giamatti movie, but as you both said at the top of the show, I think maybe I'm just a little bit older than you, but I think you guys are considerably off on Sideways being Paul Giamatti's breakthrough. I think he broke through a lot sooner than that. He was kind of like one of those actors that was in lots of things like Saving Private Ryan, I think.
He's in Saving Private Ryan?
And
Yeah, throw this in the fish tank.
he was in, or no,
He might have been
Full
in
Metal Jacket. No, Saving Private
Thin Red
Ryan.
Line.
He was in a lot of things.
I
That
don't know.
He was like the fourth guy that everybody was like, "What is this amazing actor?" I knew about him.
Like Toby, what's his name, Ryan?
Who? Toby Maguire?
No, not Toby Maguire. Toby
Oh, Toby Jones.
Toby Jones, yeah.
I mean, and maybe it was just the films that I was watching, and I was just hitting the right ones. But I mean, I knew about A. Bartlett Giamatti and the whole Pete Rose thing. I mean, I feel like I knew about that in the early 2000s.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you must be a baseball fan.
Well, yeah, I'm a baseball fan too, and I had a friend who was really pissed about the Pete Rose stuff, so he hated Paul Giamatti because his dad was the one.
I'm kind of glad I didn't know that when I became
Sideways
a fan.
is like 2014, right?
No, it goes a little further back
It's
than
earlier, yeah. I want to say Sideways is early 2000s.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm the wrong one there.
Yeah.
It was out when we started CinemaJaw.
Oh, for
It was
sure.
one of the few things Ryan and I agree on
Yeah.
is Sideways.
It's got to be 2005-ish, somewhere
sounds
back
about
then.
right, yeah.
So
Okay.
Why
it's-
don't we
it's
throw
been a
that in
while.
the fish tank? When
Yeah.
did
Sideways.
Sideways come out?
I'm going to say Sideways is later, and that Paul Giamatti's breakout was more like late 90s.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to
Interesting.
say he was in something and possibly even nominated for something.
Wow.
I didn't look. I
right.
promise. I looked
We'll find out.
briefly at the filmography, but
We will find out. I love it. All right. Well, Brent is sitting in on this entire jaw. He has his top 5 favorite get-rich-quick movies. Schemes, if you
Yeah.
will. But the tie-in is because we're reviewing a new movie called Quiz Lady.
Indeed. Akwafina seems to be popping up everywhere these days. Her voice and face in every film after film, with at least 4 credits to her name this year alone. I'm happy for her and all, but with that kind of output, is the quality really there? That's the question I asked myself as I sat down to watch her latest, Quiz Lady, in which she teams up with the wonderful Sandra Oh, probably best known for her stint on Grey's Anatomy and Sideways, Speak of the Devil, and director Jessica Yu, who some may remember as having a hand in the outsider art craze with her 2004 doc In the Realms of the Unreal, and making this an Asian female power trio. The 3 set out to create an irreverent adult comedy about growing up in a broken home, introversion versus extroversion, and an obsession with Jeopardy, or in this case, the stand-in is The Big Quiz Show. But can it get all the questions right, or do we have to give it the buzzer? Ryan and I slapped our buttons to find out.
Yes?
Hi, I have some bad news.
We lost your mom.
What?
Sorry, that was terrible phrasing. I meant we don't know where she is.
Oh, I think your sister's here.
Annie, it's finally happened. Oh my God, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here. We're orphans. Oh my God, you're Orphan Annie. Oh
She's
my
not
God.
dead. She ran away. Tough bitch.
Here's the synopsis, guys. Anne, played by Akwafina, and her estranged train wreck of a sister, Jenny, Sandra Oh, must work together to help cover their mother's gambling debts. When Annie's beloved dog is kidnapped, they set out on a wild cross-country trek to get the cash. It would be fair to call this a buddy road trip comedy, and I was surprised at how much depth it actually has. The comedy is solid and ramps up as we get more and more invested in the characters. There's always a central tragic joke that a film like this hinges on, and the one they put together here, involving a hole in a backyard, may just be the most original and funny I have ever seen. It's also nice to see Akwafina playing the straight man for a change, and Sandra Oh being the one who's over the top head case. I have to give props to Oh. She really did this character well, and I found it believable and even relatable. Jason Schwartzman and Will Ferrell pop up in small roles on the game show, and the 2 put in nice turns, respectively. But the Best Small Role Award goes to Holland Taylor, who plays the annoying and mean neighbor to Akwafina's Annie. I laughed a lot, and this film won me over with its sheer charm, comedic timing, and dare I say, heart. I think Quiz Lady gets the answer right, even if it didn't phrase it as in the form of a question.
It pains me to say this because I wanted to like this movie as much as you did from the sound of it.
I didn't want to like it. I was ready to hate this.
But I didn't get as much out of it as I was hoping for. For starters, you say the comedy is solid and ramps up the more the film goes on. I didn't feel that way. I found the jokes...
you gotta be kidding.
No, I found the jokes to be flat, and I found the characters to be uninteresting here.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Did we watch the same movie here?
Secondly, I liked Akwafina as the straight character. I say you liked Akwafina as the straight character and Sandra Oh to be the boisterous one. This didn't work for me either.
They're playing against type, right?
I know. I was fine with Akwafina being the introvert, but I did not like Sandra Oh's over-the-top big sister act at all. And much of the comedy in the movie relies on this aspect working. So I
thought it was great.
I think for me, I didn't buy into that. I overall don't like Sandra Oh that much, and I didn't like her here.
Bite your tongue. What?
And I think because of this, the film ultimately didn't work. I did find elements to like. The quiz show with Will Ferrell as the host was hilarious, and Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, anybody could have played that role, though.
Contest, but well casted. That's all I'm saying.
I guess.
Well casted. I like that, and I'm glad you mentioned the next door neighbor lady, which was a great touch because she was always coming out of the house.
Did you happen to notice her address?
No.
666.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. So I like that she was always coming to the house whenever a guest was coming over, or
it's basically Rye the movie guy living next door.
oh, come on, I'm not that
Your
grumpy.
mailman put your package in front of my door again.
I'm not that grumpy at all. But in general, I thought I was really going to like this. In fact, I was trying to make room for this. It played at Toronto, and I didn't see it there. And so it's been on my list to try to catch up with, and then decide to see it, and I was slightly disappointed here.
What did you think of the hole, the hinge?
So for me,
that was amazing.
That's my jaw-dropping moment.
Mine
actually,
too.
Is the story?
Oh, it's not mine. Go on.
The story that is told of why this hole was dug, and we don't want to give it away because it's probably the biggest laugh in the movie. It's all right. Finally, it got me to laugh out loud at a comedy, and that I mean, I laughed. That
you
was
didn't
really
laugh
good.
at the Benjamin Franklin stuff?
I thought that was okay. And that's another actor we need to mention, Tony Hale. I love this guy from Arrested Development. He plays Benjamin Franklin, who it's the Benjamin Franklin Inn, and he's playing it to such a great character that even when a phone's ringing, he's acting
Yeah. Oh, what does that
shocked.
sound?
So that was good. It was over the top, but it was kind of like cheesy laugh. I could see where some people are really going to like this movie, almost like a comfort movie, kind of movie you just throw on. It's a road trip.
I thought it had some good belly laughs.
I don't know, but I didn't laugh like I wanted to laugh other than the big story that why there's a hole in the backyard and why somebody needed to use that hole.
Okay, another cliche, and Brent, you'll be familiar with these from having read hundreds and hundreds of comedy scripts, is the heart tug, the heart twist, whatever you want to call it. The moment when these two estranged characters find out that they've really just needed each other all along. Really done well here. Like, I actually got a little emotionally touched by this film.
Such a softie.
I know, I'm not. By the way, after the scuttlebutt incident where she starts rapping as the pigeon in, or it's a seagull in the Little Mermaid remake.
Right.
I was hard on Akwafina. Like, Renfield brought it back a little bit. I actually don't remember which order those two came in.
Right.
Doesn't matter. But Scuttlebutt really put me off my Akwafina. This has brought her back for me.
Well, it was funny because at one point they show her, there's this shot of her, and she's sort of like hunched over because she's supposed to be such a introvert, you know, like
I think that's also her frame a little bit somewhat.
Yeah, and I thought like, oh my God, usually she's so boisterous and like going. She was really playing off type in this movie. But I mean, come on, she's petting the dog where she always watches the trivia. And then when she's finally on the game show, she can't answer any questions because she's missing the dog next to her. That's cheesy writing, Matt. I didn't go for that at all.
I don't know, man. That's actually kind of true. Some people really need that comfort.
I thought it was cheesy. So my jaw-dropping moment was the hole in the ground story, which is definitely the hardest laugh of the movie.
Well, what'd you think about the emotional beat? Did it work for you or not?
No, again, not that I hated this movie. I just think it's middle of the road. I could see where some people go for it, but for me, it was like,
better than middle of the road. All right, my jaw-dropping moment was Paul Rubens. We need to mention that there is a Paul Rubens cameo in this, which may be his last film credit.
I'll throw it in the fish tank.
Please do, because I saw they show a photo of him on somebody's shelf, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is so sad. Like, there he is. They're probably paying an homage, and then at the this is a slight spoiler, but really not much. There's a cameo that comes in at the end, and it's Paul Rubens. I was like, holy shit, so glad to see Paul this soon after his passing. Like, I didn't think he was in this movie, and it was a nice surprise.
So we've been doing the podcast for so long, and I know you're a huge Paul Rubens fan, that when this happened and I saw it watching the screening, I thought, I know Matt's going to like this movie now because Paul Rubens showed up. I know instantly Matt's going to like the movie.
Because I didn't think he would be there. I liked it before then. I had already made up my mind that I liked the movie, but that did add to it.
It was a nice touch because now that we know that he's passed, to me, I even felt it, and I'm not nearly the Paul Rubens fan you are, but I appreciate his talents, and I like the guy. So when he came on, it did have that kind of like, that's nice to see Paul in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. What a talent. He's the best.
How about a movie poster quote?
My quote is, what is the best new comedy this fall?
Oh, my goodness, Matt, slow down here.
Hey, it's only November 1st.
I went with Quiz Lady only has some of the answers.
Wow, Ryan, we are split on this one. How many jaws?
I think this is middle of the road comedy. 2 jaws for Rye the Movie Guy. Matt?
I think this is the best comedy of the fall, and I'm giving it 3.5 Jaws.
Of course you are.
I mean, this is a great comedy. It is what it is. It delivers as promised, more than I expected.
3.5 Jaws from Matt K. 2 Jaws from Rye the Movie Guy. The best part is, Jawheads, this is streaming on Hulu right now. So if you have a Hulu subscription, check it out. Let us know what you think. Shoot us a tweet at CinemaJaw or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. That got us thinking about get-rich-quick schemes.
Right, because she needs to go on
Right.
the quiz
we should
show to pay
explain
off
that
some
a little
debts.
bit better. Right.
Yeah.
She has to go on the quiz show to win the cash prize to pay off some debt.
Right. She's being chased by gangsters, etc.
And as me and Brent were talking prior to hitting record, this is a common theme in a lot of movies. We just had to think of which ones do it best. But there's so many times where a character needs money fast for either to pay off a debt from a drug dealer or who knows what, a ransom, who knows. But there's always some type of then goofy scheme to get money. Could be just robbery, but it usually involves something ridiculous that makes the movie work.
Yeah, goofy or justified or something even more sinister, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's a comedy and it's a justifiable, get-rich-quick scheme, which many are, as I went through the list, but yeah.
Would you want to get us started?
Okay. The first one I'm going with.
This is your number 5.
This is number 5, and this is mostly because this is just a solid movie. Historically, one of my favorites of all time. I rewatch it every few years, is No Country for Old Men. Now, while the Coen brothers, Llewellyn Moss, wasn't looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, he knowingly steals from drug dealers in the Mexican cartel and sets off a chain of events that leads to his unceremonious demise.
This is a great one.
Oh, man, yeah.
And I think the Coen brothers do this the best. I think you can pull a few Coen brothers, and one might pop up later on my list. They do a lot of these get-rich kind of quick schemes where someone's trying to get money in a hurry, and then that leads into weird events with strange characters you don't want to be tangling with.
And this is a great movie. I'm sure most of the Jawheads are familiar with it, but there's many lessons in this film. Certainly the ability to draw on this get rich quick scheme is part of the big lesson of leave lying drug money where it is one of them. But it's famous for speaking against nostalgia a little bit, and also teaching the audience lessons about happy endings and there always not being neat, tied up happy endings.
Nice pick at number 5. Matt, what do you got sitting there?
All right, so I went with straight get rich quick, not crime. So every one of my picks is something mostly legal. And at
Boring.
No, I figured that's, crime is a whole different category.
Mine are all crime.
I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot.
That wasn't the best time for it. David Fincher directed. Aaron Sorkin written. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross scored. Starring Jesse Eisenberg, The Social Network. About a college kid.
I love the movie, but you got to sell me on the get rich quick.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. It's the early aughts, and a college kid decides to skip all of his classes and write an app in his dorm room about who's hot and who's not. It slowly balloons, and he becomes one of the richest men in America, if not the world, right? And certainly one of the more powerful ones, because of how Facebook grows and the betrayals and the intrigue that goes along with him holding on to this control, pushing out the giant twins that wanted to bash his face in. It's about getting rich at all costs. Not necessarily quick, but I mean, writing the app, it all happened pretty fast.
I'll allow it.
I guess, but I
get it.
I do, but he didn't sit down and
How many of us wrote an app after that?
Yeah, he didn't sit down to write the app because he needed the money in a quick week or.
How many of us wrote an app after that?
or thought about what apps we could write.
Right.
To be honest with you, Matt, I've never wrote an app.
You never. How about come up with an app idea? That would make a great app.
Or a website idea. Or
I guess.
You've definitely done that.
I guess.
All right, go on. What's yours?
My number 5 pick came out in 2020. Smaller movie. It's called Kajillionaire. Have you seen this one, Brent?
No, I haven't seen it, but very familiar with the director and writer. Yeah.
This is a great film, Jawheads, that I know many people listening to this have not seen, and it should be seen. It stars Evan Rachel Wood, Deborah Winger, Richard Jenkins, and it's a very bizarre comedy about 2 con artists raising their daughter, and their daughter is Evan Rachel Wood. And it turns out that the family owes $1,500 of back rent on their apartment in Los Angeles, which is really just a office that has this like leaking water coming in from the laundromat next door. So they come up with this idea, this scam in which they'll fly to New York City using tickets that they won in a contest, and her parents will end up taking her luggage bag at the carousel, and she will claim that the airline has lost it, and then they'll collect the travel insurance she purchased to cover the rent that they owe. This is just the first scheme. The whole entire movie of Kajillionaire ends up being about how to scam somebody else, and they're the most bizarre scams. Like, as you're hearing why they're doing this and the way they come up with it, it's just more and more bizarre. Great comedy, very strange. And the characters are rich, those kind of characters that you love to hang out with for 2-hour comedy.
Like Sandra Oh.
Not like Sandra, in my opinion, but in yours, that's fine. Kajillionaire is the name of my pick. It's my number 5 pick.
That swings it to you, Brent.
All right. If Matt can do The Social Network, then this one I'm going to be allowed to do. I'm picking The Big Short. While the main storyline of the film is get poor because of factors beyond our control, the subplot is how big finance and those who work for them use recessions and economic system crashes to get rich quick. If you've seen this movie, there's a scene that I think about all the time that's early on in the movie when
Margot Robbie in the bathtub?
No, isn't that Wolf of Wall Street?
No, that's
okay.
She does
sorry.
appear at a
She
cameo
is
in
in,
this.
yes. No, that is not what I think of. Is when the bank numbers guy, the genius kid, figures out that the subprime mortgage market is way overtaxed, and they go in the next day and tell their salesmen that they'll give them like 10% bonuses for everything they unload, or maybe something more than that. And that basically is what really caused the crash, was that these 2 banks unloaded billions of dollars, but the guys that were selling it got rich quick.
Right. Mm-hmm. They shorted it.
Yes,
they owned the short
right,
position on it. Yeah.
And I always think of that, and I thought of it immediately as a get rich quick scheme.
It definitely was. I mean, somebody saw an opportunity and took advantage of it.
A legal scheme, a gray area.
Gray area.
Scheme. Acceptable by society standards, maybe, because a big bank did it.
It was legal at the time. I believe it's not anymore, but I could be wrong. And then there's just going to be the next thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good pick, man. All right.
Big Short.
At number 4, I have one that I think will make Ryan very happy. And I must admit, the first time I saw this movie, and the only time, to be fair, it was a little slow for me, but I did enjoy it. First Cow.
Nice pick. I like this, actually. Didn't think about this one.
We have a couple of ne'er-do-wells in the past. I forget when, but it's like pre-industrial revolution. And they one of them's a cook, and one of them is on the run from the Russians for killing a man.
This is out in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, right. And they find a cow that belongs to a landowner, not them, who they should not be milking, but they milk the cow and create these biscuits. I think he calls them sweet cakes.
Yeah, cakes, little cakes, right?
Yeah. And he sells them to fur trappers because they're following about, he's a cookie for the fur trappers. And they're like, wow, how'd you make these? And he's an ancient Chinese secret. He won't tell them how it's done. They use milk, but these are the most delicious cakes anyone's ever tasted, but they have to keep stealing the milk. So I guess this one isn't completely legal. It winds up being a big hullabaloo, if there is such a thing in this movie. It's a very slow burn. But it's almost like a dark comedy. in a way.
It's Kelly Reichardt, director, and was my movie of the year that it came out. Which,
Right.
It was that odd year.
Mine was probably
2019
Mandy.
or 2020.
Yeah.
Right in there. And then 2020, I guess.
No, this was pre-pandemic.
No, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. I'll
Throw
throw it in
it-
the fish
throw it
tank,
in the
but
fish
I'm
tank.
positive of it. But
You're wrong. Pre-pandemic. We saw this in the theater.
never saw it in the theater myself.
All right, I could be wrong. We'll find out.
It was a screener for sure.
That whole time period is kind of a gray area sometimes, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. Good movie. I recommend it.
I do too. First Cow is great. Good pick, Matt. My number 4 pick, I don't know where I first heard of this, but when I heard the title of the film, I thought, that's a Netflix movie I'll never watch. You know, I mean, they got so much junk on there. And then I heard somebody else tell, you got to see this movie. I thought, all right, I'll take the bait and I'll watch it. It's a documentary, and it appears on my list, and it came out just last year. It's called The Tinder Swindler.
Oh, dude, you finally caught up with this?
Talk about get rich quick. What a scam this guy was. And
You
it
gotta
is
be handsome, Ryan.
absolutely
That's-
fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
You may have been the first to tell me about it, or the second person.
I was begging you to let us review it on the show. It was a huge hit. Huge.
But again, Netflix has these a lot of times. I'm like, it's just garbage. It's just like,
Yeah, but this one wasn't.
This one was really good. The Tinder Swindler would basically, on his profile, say that he was this rich guy mining for diamonds. And then he would take his time with one girl and explain to her that he's in these debt, this needs money because he's in debt from one person, and then basically get her to pay for everything, give him all this money, which he would then use to fuel the next person that he was scamming.
Right.
Because
He
then
would
it would
take
make
them
it
out
look,
for this opulent dinners, buy them gifts.
but he was just using one girl's money
Right.
to pay for the next person's, and he's just living the lifestyle of going out on, private plane, driving these fancy cars.
And
But
these girls were not hard to look at either. They were beautiful women that he scammed.
And it's absolutely stunning in a way that you think that someone would give this much money to a person they just met on Tinder. But once you watch the documentary, he really sold it.
He did, and he built the relationships up to a point where they would believe that anything from this guy. He said, they were ready to marry him and stuff. Crazy. What's even crazier is this guy is still out there. He's still at large. So I think he's in the Caribbean or some place. Like, he has not been caught.
It's a wild story. It's, again, Jawheads, I don't watch all these Netflix, but enough people mentioned this one that I did check out, and I do recommend The Tinder Swindler. So
well done. Good job, Ryan.
there you go. That was my number 4 pick. We're into our 3s.
All right. 3 is Dead Presidents. If you're looking for peak 90s cultural criticism, this film is it. Black director and cast, criticisms of policies of the Vietnam War, which was very popular in the 90s, how we treated veterans, urban disenfranchises, all wrapped up in a get-rich-quick scheme that was society's problem to fix that eventually fails in the plot line.
This is the one where they wear the ghost masks or so, where they paint
something
their face?
like that, yeah.
Because there's a robbery, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Robbery that goes wrong. But it's a get rich quick to fix what society has broken. And eventually it doesn't pan out. And great 90s movie. Kind of overlooked sometimes.
I was
It
going to
is
say,
rather
this is one
overlooked.
I'll probably write down because I remember really liking this movie back in the day, and I have not seen it in 20 plus years at least. So it's like, man, I'd like to see how that holds up and rewatch that thing.
Yeah. Great directors, the Hughes brothers, who kind of didn't really do too much.
Fizzled out after a while.
Yeah, they did some stuff shortly thereafter that in the 90s, but I'm not sure what happened. But yeah, they definitely fizzled out. One of them did a TV show, The Good Lord Bird, which if you haven't seen that is really good. Period piece, but
This was, an image from the 90s that I remember.
Same.
So,
The Dead Presidents.
yeah. It was big. I remember having the poster and stuff like that.
yeah, I think the movie again was more like it became a cultural moment. I don't know that it was like extremely successful at the box office or in the awards, but I think it's one of those that sort of lasted because of its cultural meaning, and it was definitely talking about culturally relevant things.
And black cinema had a bit of a moment in the mid to late 90s, right?
And I think it might have got lost in that moment, maybe a little bit, because of, sort of like the early beginnings of Spike Lee and sort of things like that. But I think it might be a little overlooked.
Good pick, man.
Yeah, nice pick at number 3.
All right, so that swings it to mine. I am going with a movie that I think it fits on so many lists. We've talked about it a lot, so I won't belabor it too much. But at the heart of this film, it is a get-rich-quick scheme directed by Shane Carruth, your boy, Ryan. This is the movie that really brought him to our attention, Primer. So it's a time travel movie, right, where they're going back in time to play the stock market. Of course, things change from there. Like this movie has almost nothing to do with money, but that is the impetus. That is the thing that sets the plot in motion. That they are at least ostensibly going back in time to play the stock market. And wow, that's wild. You're going to go back in time to get rich quick. But hey, it worked for Marty McFly and Biff.
You're right.
So why not a regular Joe like me, Ryan?
I love Primer.
I love it too.
It's a good pick. Definitely trying to get rich quick.
See, we've talked about it a lot, but it's been a long time.
It has been. Great flick, though. My number 3 is a film directed by William Friedkin, by a screenplay written by Chicago's very own Tracy Letts, and it was part of the Matthew McConaughey
The reconnaissance?
Reconnaissance was the word I was looking for. This was when McConaughey was coming back in full force, taking over Hollywood circa 2011. The movie is called Killer Joe.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I forget. Oh, yeah. Now I remember the plot. Okay.
So Matthew McConaughey plays Killer Joe. He's the hitman. Emil Hirsch and Thomas Hayden Church are father and son. And Thomas Hayden Church, another sideways connection here. This is great. So Thomas Hayden Church, Emil Hirsch, and then you got Juna Temple is in there as well. And the idea is simple. Emil Hirsch needs something like $6,000, and they come up with an idea to hire a hitman and murder Thomas Hayden Church's wife, which is like his stepmom, Emil Hirsch's stepmom. And then basically they're going to get the insurance policy, and they're going to split the insurance policy. That's really the idea of what's going to happen.
Such a small amount of money for somebody's life.
Right. It's crazy. But it of course, all goes haywire because Killer Joe, he's a dangerous and intimidating guy, and he ends up liking his sister, who's played by Juna Temple. Things get a little weird.
There's a chicken leg involved at one point.
It's very strange stuff. I've seen the play here in Chicago.
How do they do the play? Did I ask you this question?
Yeah, and they do it pretty well.
With the chicken leg?
Yeah, they do some weird stuff going on for sure. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
It's definitely like a very tense moment where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened, you know. I remember like the lights were flashing in the theater, and you know,
they got the lighting going and stuff.
Really, really wacky stuff.
This was at Steppenwolf?
This was at one of those like storefront theaters.
Oh, okay.
I forget the name of it.
Sometimes those are even better.
Yeah, but it was like, 100, 150 seat kind of, wrapped around
real
the
intimate.
stage. Yeah, right on top of the stage. In fact, this is a true story. It's just coming to me now. Tracy Letts, who wrote it, was in the audience for this production. And I was too nervous to go up to him. But I recognized who he was. He wasn't quite who he is now. Now he's, a star. He's in certain things. But I had recognized him. At that point, he had already wrote August Osage County, and he was a huge name. But now he's appearing in television and everything. But even then, I remember seeing him, like, oh my God, Tracy Letts is here. And I saw him talking to the actors afterwards, just probably telling them like what he thought of,
giving
the
him
performance.
notes.
Yeah. Kind of neat, to see another theater company perform his play is probably pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be.
So,
it's got to be cool.
If you haven't seen Killer Joe out there, though, do check this one out. It's awesome.
Great Chicago moments that you can only have in Chicago, right?
Yep.
Theater and all that.
Absolutely. So we're into our twos. What do we got there, Brent?
Number 2. Just went with something that really popped into my mind as a great film that I had seen, and I remember it, and it's Catch Me If You Can.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Spielberg weaves an incredibly fun and fast-paced film here about a career con man played by Leonardo DiCaprio, chased around the world by FBI agent Tom Hanks. Only Spielberg could give us this kind of film, right? It's got a lot of quirk in it, but it's also stylish and fun. It's really fast-paced, like I said. And in the end, the bad guy doesn't really get his comeuppance either, which is, again, something that only I feel like Spielberg could get away with maybe in a film like this. Great movie. I remember it. It's one of those, the scenes pop into my mind just at random times and remember how fun and fast-paced it was in the theater. And, great movie.
There is. Go ahead, Matt.
I love some of the scams in that movie, because he has, I think at one point, a escort, a woman of the night in his hotel room, and she thinks she's scamming him, and he's got the upper hand
because he's writing a phony check,
right,
is what it is. So he writes her a phony check, but asks for
the
cash
Yeah,
back. Yeah. He's like, well, I can only write it for this much, so you're going to have to give me $5,000 or whatever the exchange is, and it's a phony check. It was great.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Very good.
No doubt. All right, my number 2. I'm going with the 1999 comedy masterpiece that I don't think it's ever been knocked off its perch. Ron Livingston, Jennifer Aniston, and just about everybody else. Office Space. The get-rich-quick scheme here is they hate the company they work for. Again, this isn't necessarily central to the plot. I guess it is kind of the pivotal moment of the plot. And they figure out how to write a program that will take the rounding... it basically rounds a number down and takes the rest and puts it into a bank account. And they think it's going to be good for pocket change, going out to drink beer money. And it turns out to be millions. And then they get scared. What a great movie. Office Space is timelessly classic. Timelessly classic.
It sure is. I forgot that that's actually even in there because when I think of Office Space, I don't think necessarily the plot, what you just described.
Exactly.
I think of the characters. I think of the fax machine.
PC load letter.
All that kind of stuff. That's what I think of when I think of Office Space. If you actually asked me what the plot was, I would have forgot that until you just mentioned it, but you're totally right.
It's a good movie. 1999. So long ago.
Crazy.
It
99. What a year.
Was. Great year.
We go back to the 80s for my number 2 pick. 1983. We probably all have seen this movie. I put this down and I actually thought, I don't know if I've ever had this on a top 5 list, but I'm sure we've talked about it on CinemaJaw. Tom Cruise, Rebecca De Mornay, Risky Business.
Is this your 3 or your 2?
This is my 2.
2, okay.
My number 2 pick. And the get-rich scheme here is it's hilarious because what happens is Tom Cruise's parents go out of town. Booger from Revenge
Curtis
of the Nerds.
Armstrong.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
We call him Booger, though, from Revenge of the Nerds. Tells Tom Cruise that he should get a hooker. He eventually gets a hooker. She steals this glass egg from his parents.
The Fabergé egg, yeah.
He wants to get the egg back. He can't get the egg back. They take his dad's Porsche out, and they drive the Porsche. It goes out onto a pier, and it falls into Lake Michigan. And now they got to get the Porsche repaired. So they need a get-rich-quick scheme, and why not open a brothel in your house? And that is basically the theme of Risky Business. And what's great is he's trying to get into Northwestern, I think. I can't remember what college he's trying to get into.
That sounds right, yeah.
But of course, the recruiter of the college comes to interview him while he's having this party, and he has hookers all over his place, and people are coming in and out. There's friends of the family. It's absolutely hilarious.
God, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Yes. He, in Risky Business, turns his parents' house into a brothel to get the money back to fix his Porsche. And a movie star is born. This was Tom Cruise's breakout role, dancing around in his tighty whities, and next thing you know, he is Top Gun, and the rest is history. So
True.
That was
pick.
my number 2 pick, Risky Business. Our number 1 picks, our number 1 get rich quick. What do we got, Brent?
Okay, I'm going to go way back here and nerd out with you on the film professor level. I'm going back to 1969's Wild Bunch, where the get-rich-quick scheme is kind of a minor part in the movie of where they're trying to rob the American government's gold train going through to fund a Mexican revolution, and it's upended by the main characters. But this film is one of the greatest films of all time. It makes top 100 lists. It's also a film kind of like Dead Presidents. It's just dripping with cultural criticism. It's often also cited as like one of the last traditional Westerns that kind of brought the Western genre down in the late 60s. And it is a film that could only exist in the late 1960s, early 70s, when there was actually like a battle of Western films being played out in the cinema week after week. And it's an incredible movie, and the get-rich-quick scheme is just a part that it gives it this whole ability to speak about cultural references and society and things that were going on at the time. Incredible film. I'm sure a lot of Jawheads have probably seen it, but
I haven't. What's the name of it again?
The Wild Bunch.
It's
the
a great
Wild
one.
Bunch. Yeah, I think I've seen it. But dude, when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those 60s movies, cowboy movies, that if you're not like, again, film professor nerding out level, you don't really think of it as much different than any other ones. But incredible movie, and culturally relevant and very, very strong film.
Good pick, man.
Love that one.
Good list. All right. I'm going with one of my favorite movies of all time at number one. Again, I might be stretching, but it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And everybody wants a golden ticket, which it's really self-explanatory, right? But another layer to Willy Wonka's scheme to find his worthy successor is he has one of his assistants dress up as a competitor and try to tempt them away by saying, if you steal me the everlasting gobstopper, I'll give you, I can't remember what the sum is, but like $1 million. And some of the kids try to do this to backstab Willy Wonka. The whole country's frenzied trying to find the golden tickets. And then the 5 kids that go in each have an ulterior motive to get rich quick. And it's only the purity of Charlie Bucket, that gets the good day, sir, at the end.
It's a great movie.
It is.
Are you excited for the new Wonka with Timothée Chalamet?
No. I didn't like the Johnny Depp one either, if I'm being honest. Who's ever going to top Gene Wilder? I don't know, but it certainly isn't Timothée Chalamet. It's not happening.
Well, we'll see how it's a little bit different of a story, so that's good.
Nobody who has ever done a cologne commercial can possibly top Gene Wilder. I'm standing behind that statement.
But that was directed by Marty Scorsese, that cologne commercial.
Why is Martin Scorsese directing cologne commercials?
It's the damnedest thing, but it's true.
Get rich quick.
Well done, Brent. My number one pick, Brent had Coen Brothers at a number 5 pick. Let's bookend it with a Coen Brothers at number 1. It's absolute classic. Came out in 1996. I went with Fargo, my number 1 pick.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. And it's Jerry Lundengard's wonderful idea. This is played by William H. Macy. Here's his get-rich scheme. He's got this father-in-law with a bunch of money. So he comes up with this idea that he's going to hire a couple of goons to kidnap his wife, and they're going to ask for ransom money. And then he's going to handle the ransom money from, get the money from the father-in-law, and then give X amount to the goons and keep all this extra money. That's the plot. And, of course, everything goes completely haywire. You got dead cops on the highway. You have a dead wife. All hell breaks loose. And it really ushers in the era of the Coen Brothers movie.
True.
I really think, I was thinking about this when I wrote my number 1. The effects of Fargo is still felt today. They are still making... They
just had a TV show.
Yeah, they're still doing TV shows. But I mean, they're still doing like, hey, all we need to do is set something with
an outsider cast.
Exactly. Outsider cast with a weird kind of plot that's, a money scheme. And this is still selling today. It's literally...
somewhere in East Bumf... Egypt, yeah.
We comment every once in a while where we see it, and it's like, this is like Fargo-esque because it's blah, blah, blah. We see it through it a lot of times, but I can't tell you how much I still see it in television, in movies, the effect that Fargo had in 1996. And I remember when I saw it, I was like, what is this movie? I couldn't believe how strange it was to set a movie in Minnesota. Now it doesn't seem that odd for younger listeners, but back then I remember it being like, this was the strangest damn movie ever. We had, Fargo, North Dakota, Upper Minnesota, Brainerd, Minnesota, a kidnapping of his own wife, and now it's common ground for pretty much what we see everywhere. It seems it's so influential.
Dark Americana, is that the genre? I don't know. Does it even belong to a specific genre? Tough to say.
Yeah, I don't know if it belongs to a genre, but it certainly hits in that like independent film surgence of the 90s, like people copying Tarantino or copying Spike Lee or whoever, that Coen brothers kind of fit right into that sort of, and yeah, it was, these kind of moments are sometimes hard to describe to the younger generation. I know I struggle with that with my students a lot of times.
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's tough to describe. Like, well, we just never had seen a movie quite like this, and now it's so commonplace that it seems odd to tell that to people.
And you can see every movie. So there might have been the movie that was out there like that before, but we could never see it.
We couldn't access it. Yeah,
it was shown in the '60s, and it was available on DVD at or
VHS. Yeah. A perfect example of what you're talking about, Ryan, Yellowstone. Bingo. That's like Fargo-esque. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So that was my number one pick. Honorable mentions here, because there were a few.
I got two.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
All right. Rapid fire. Indecent Proposal. There's a get-rich-quick scheme that I can be a part of. Raising Arizona, speaking of the Coen brothers. Mm-hmm. Although I think she was trying to keep the baby.
The baby, I agree. I looked that up. I don't know if they were trying to get money.
I think they were
trying to keep the baby.
I think they were originally going to sell the babies, and then they decided to keep. I forget, but anyway, great movie.
I have another Coen brothers on my list. Big Lebowski. That's a get rich quick.
Yeah, it is.
That's the that's a subplot of the whole thing that sets everything in motion. I had There Will Be Blood, which is get rich quick off of oil. There was so many choices for this. I could go on and on. Reservoir Dogs, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, all great movies that are about that.
A couple others are Hustlers, with the stripper movie with J-Lo, where they were drugging the people.
Too, yeah.
I Care a Lot, which was a Netflix movie.
I've seen it. I'm trying to remember it.
Yeah, she is keeping people at the retirement home.
Oh, yeah. It's Jessica Chastain?
No.
Tilda Swinton?
I forget her name. She's in Gone Girl. Sorry, Jawheads. She's in Gone Girl. I'll throw it in the fish tank. Yes. And last was Seven Psychopaths, which I love this movie. It's a odd comedy, and the get-rich scheme there is kidnap dogs in the neighborhood, and then they return the dogs for a reward. And this is how these small little criminals are making money. They end up kidnapping the dog of a mobster. And, hence the movie takes off from there. But yeah, you're right, Brent. There's tons of these. Once you really start looking at lists, there's tons of movies that revolve around trying to get money in a very short period of time.
It's a great subplot, too, for a lot of movies. Like we've mentioned a few that were on our list where it's not, you don't even remember it as like the plot, but it's definitely there to like help drive the second story or to drive some other like story element. And it's, very overlooked, very hard to narrow it down.
Indeed.
Yep. Jawheads, if we missed your favorite Get Rich Quick movie and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet or an email. We're feedback@cinemajaw.com. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have a review of Pricilla. Plus, Matt is taking Brent on in Quiz Lady movie trivia. Stick with us. Let's all go to the lobby. We're celebrating Paul Giamatti this month, and I teased this early on in the podcast that Giamatti did a semi-breakout role before Sideways, and it comes from Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie in which he played Pig Vomit. That is the character that was Howard Stern's boss at WNBC. And in this clip, they argue, how do you say the call letters WNBC?
Howard, the way we work here at NBC is a more professional manner than you're probably used to. Now, see, I don't care about what you did down in Washington, because that's chicken shit radio. Here at NBC, this is real radio. And the first thing you've got to do is say the call letters properly. Okay? Now, I'm going to teach you how to say them. All right? And, you know, I hope you can get them. Because, see, you don't have a real good voice like IMS, Captain Frank, and nothing. So we're going to have to practice it.
Well, you mean practicing here now?
You're not going to get bashful on me now, are you, Alan? Okay, you ready? The way it's said properly is WNBC. This is key. Come on.
WNBC.
No. You gotta be more like this. Listen up. WNBC. You hear that? Kind of lift. The NBC.
WNBC. WNBC.
Wider.
WNBC.
One more.
In my mind, I'm hearing. It sounds like I'm saying exactly what you're saying.
No, actually.
WNBC.
You know what?
Sparkling drinks, it's all colored dandy, 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 dandy.
And we are back on CinemaJaw, hanging out with Brent Kado, talking about the Chicago Comedy Film Festival and Get Rich Quick schemes. How's it going, guys?
Going great.
Yeah?
Great to be here again. Excited for trivia.
Yeah. Are you happy to be back on the show now, Ryan?
I am.
Okay, good. So what do we got up?
The fish tank.
Oh, yeah. Why
No
don't we
Phil.
open? Yeah, that's so weird. I'm
So
always like...
I had to write all these down. Now I know what Phil does. They're underpaid.
They're underpaid, and they don't use pen and paper either. Like, what are you doing over there? That's so
Old school.
analog. Yeah.
Old school. But I got the facts that we threw in there.
All
I
right.
think I did. I might have missed some, and they're probably out of order, but I got most of them.
Well, should we open the fish tank?
Let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish smoke.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
All right. It
It's
stinks
weird
in
that
here,
there's no Phil.
and it stinks in the fish tank, let me tell you. Here's the facts I got. Number one, the actress in I Care a Lot that I was looking for at the end there was Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
All right. First Cow, what year did it come out? I was right. It's 2020 was
Okay.
released. March of 2020.
It's a blur.
Was that Paul Rubens' last on-screen performance?
Had to be.
And it was, Matt.
Yeah.
He has no credits listed on IMDb or Wikipedia or nothing that was still to come. So that was the last we are going to see of Paul Rubens on screen. Kind of sad.
It is. At least it was in a good movie.
And the last one, which was the first that we threw in there, was from Brent about Paul Giamatti being around for a very long time, and I had to look it up. Brent is correct. I mean, he started years before Sideways. This is arguable because we're talking about Sideways being his breakout in the sense that I think most people got to know him. But he was in about 15 movies, maybe 20 movies before Sideways.
Jeez.
And he was in Private Ryan. Brent was correct. I don't even
Wow.
recognize him. I'd have to watch it again.
Me too.
He's in Donnie Brasco. And I know I rewatched The Truman Show, which was obviously with Jim Carrey.
Holy shit, he's in The Truman Show.
Yes, he's one of the controllers
Yep.
in that room that Ed Harris works in, where he says, "Cue the sun." He's working one of the computers, and he's like a glorified extra. You know, he has a couple of lines, but he's a very small role in that. But he's been in, a series of films. And then 2004 was Sideways. That was the year we're looking for. And I would say that was his
That's
most
the year where
notable.
or the role where we learned his name. We bothered to learn this guy's name.
Unless you were pissed about his dad banning Pete Rose from baseball,
Sure.
then maybe.
I think this goes back into another time period of basically we're talking pre-internet, Google, that it's he was someone that I knew his name because every time I saw him, I was like, that guy is an incredible actor. And you would maybe even go to the credits and look through it on a DVD the first couple times that you saw him. So I think that breakout role is a little gray area, possibly. Because I would say when I think of him in Sideways, I think of it as like kind of a cheesy role, kind of a step back.
I love that movie, though, man.
I think of it as like a kind of a sellout moment.
Really?
Brent, bite your tongue.
Compared to everything else he was doing, where he was like this really good, like the roles that Rye just mentioned, like that kind of stuff. Then going into just doing this kind of.
He was keeping it real when he was working the desk behind Ed Harris in Truman Show.
Well, he was great in Private Parts.
I wish I could remember where I really like knew him from before Sideways, because I feel like it was just. But yeah, I would have to go through the filmography and no time for that.
Yes, he was in a couple of Woody Allen movies, Deconstructing Harry.
Oh, that's a great one, dude.
Yes, and Mighty Aphrodite.
Okay, well, what years were those?
So Mighty Aphrodite
90s.
was 95.
Yeah, so I would have seen those for sure.
He was in Singles. Remember Singles, 1992?
Yeah, Jesus. Singles is another touchstone 90s movie.
Yes, he was in Sabrina, the 95 remake with Harrison Ford when they remade Sabrina.
That one I have
so
no
he was
idea.
in several films. He was also in My Best Friend's Wedding, The Truman Show, Dr. Dolittle, Saving Private Ryan. All of these, Cradle Will Rock. My goodness, I mean, we're only at 99. Man on the Moon.
Man on the Moon.
Duets.
That was post Sideways, Man on the Moon.
No, we're still not to Sideways. Storytelling, Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes he was in. So, yes, Big Fat Liar he was in.
With Jim Carrey?
Yeah. All the way Paycheck, which was a John Woo directed film.
Oh, yeah. Paycheck is great. That's with, what's his name?
We're missing
Ben
a big
Affleck.
one here. American Splendor, where he played Harvey Picar.
There is no way you're telling me American Splendor is Sideways.
1 year before Sideways. So that came out in 2003, and then Sideways came out in 2004.
I think his breakout is the fact that he just did these like supporting actor roles so well for like a decade, and he's already like broken
sort of
out.
established.
Yeah,
right?
like, and yeah, maybe Sideways was like, certainly it was kind of a surprise critical and commercial success, I would say, or at least it seemed like a surprise to me. So maybe that put him on the map as like a bankable name for both box office but he wasn't critically acclaimed, like he hadn't won awards, but I feel like he was the kind of actor that was like, wow, there's a really solid actor again whose dad just happened to be an asshole.
American Splendor that's a great one.
Good stuff. Hey, well, we're still in the fish tank. Next week, we have a review, I believe, of The Marvels. The new Marvel movie is coming out. And
we're going to see Wish, too, aren't we?
That's coming up. This is going to be a very busy month. And again, The Holdovers, which is now out in theaters. So, Matt, you need to see this sometime before we record the next Jaw, so we can record The Holdovers and The Marvels next week.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, let's close that fish tank. Sophia Copola is a director who sports an impressive filmography. When she has a new film coming out, it is always one of my most anticipated of that year. Her last feature film was reviewed here on the Jaw in 2020, Matt, On the Rocks, and did not fare that well. She is back with Pricilla, a film based on Priscilla Presley's 1985 memoir, Elvis and Me. Just last year, we got the bombastic Elvis film by Baz Luhrmann, so it feels like the perfect time to get the other side of the story, this time through the eyes of Pricilla.
Hi. What's your name?
Priscilla Boyer.
You like Elvis Presley?
Of course. Who doesn't?
What are the kids listening to these days?
Bobby Darin, Fabian, and you.
Just what is the intent here, Mr. Presley? You got women throwing themselves at you. Why my daughter?
Well, sir, I happen to be very fond of your daughter.
We have plenty of examples of movies, books, TV specials celebrating the career of Elvis Presley, but not many out there taking a look at the creepy story of Elvis Elvis meeting Priscilla. At the time they met, which took place during Elvis's army years stationed in Germany. Elvis was a popular musician, age 24, and Pricilla was 14, the daughter of a serviceman and a freshman in high school. To be fair, Elvis did wait a couple of years after he returned to the States to call Priscilla's parents and ask if she could move to Memphis with him and finish high school there. Sophia Coppola's focus on the confined life of Pricilla that she lived with Elvis while he was making films in Hollywood. You would think this would be the life, but it was anything but that. Coppola was not allowed to use any of Elvis's music in the film, and this actually played to her strengths. She has always been a director to nail a needle drop at the perfect time, and she gets creative here. Carly Spaney plays Priscilla Presley. Jacob Elordi is Elvis Presley. I found both to be serviceable, but neither stood out the way Austin Butler did last year. I was not a fan of the way Coppola would fade out scenes and then jump onto the next chapter in Priscilla's life. This drained the energy level out of the viewing experience. I am glad this film exists, but to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Pricilla. Looking at critics I follow on Letterboxd, it seems to line up like this. If you hated Baz Luhrmann's Elvis movie for glorifying the king, you will probably love Pricilla. If you liked that Elvis movie, then this may not be for you. As for me, I have a suspicious mind that kept me from being all shook up either way.
Well done, Ryan. All right, so first of all, I don't necessarily think it's fair to judge somebody through today's standards of society, like today's, what we think of as appropriate.
I'm actually with you on this. And this is part of the reason maybe why I didn't go for Pricilla as much.
Yeah. I mean, it was a different day and age, and that was commonplace. Now, was it right? I am not saying it was right, but that was not wrong at that time. Or at least, I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but
right.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah. I was sweating bullets coming over here knowing I was going to have to talk about this movie because I always feel like I'm going to stick my foot in my mouth.
Which, I just did.
Exactly. But I know what you're saying. Looking through it with today's lenses on, it looks like, oh, my God, this was absolutely crazy that, there's people saying like, well, you can see what a predator Elvis was and he was grooming her. And I think like, I'm not positive. I mean, I'm no expert by any means of reading the history of Elvis and Pricilla. So take that up front, Jawheads. But I will say from what I do know, Pricilla says that Elvis was the love of her life. Elvis always said Pricilla was the love of his life. And did they have situations and marital problems? Obviously, yes. They got divorced, so on and so forth.
I mean, how do you not have problems when you're that famous and you have that weird of a life, Indeed. I mean, I just don't think like to be able to cast him. I was joking when I was saying, making light of the situation of saying like, oh, that he's grooming her. No, it's creepy.
It is creepy.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about it.
It was creepy then.
It was creepy
today.
then. I think it's creepy today, even creepier today.
They got married. They made it, right with God or however you want to phrase that.
But it was very strange.
It's weird.
However, now that I see that he met her in Germany, where he never went for any of like, the foreign women that were over there.
Or groupies, to his credit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then any women that were over there that were, of age that would be, interested in Elvis were already married, and they were there because they were married to other servicemen who were serving over in Germany. So at that time when Pricilla comes in, yes, she's too young for him, but it's somebody that Elvis can talk to.
Let's move on, shall we?
This is a great, there's the reason why Elvis is in Germany in, the army is because basically why?
Don't tell me it's Paul Giamatti's dad.
Granddad. No, but why? Seriously, is because he's charged with what?
Right. He's charged with, now I forget, but I just saw the...
Indecent behavior,
Oh,
right?
But that's because he was swiveling his hips.
Right, but I'm saying he's
Right,
basically he's charged for doing something because and if you watch Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, he does a decent job of putting this like in the subtext. He's basically getting charged for, being too black.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the whole thing. And so he's now put in Germany in the U.S. Army and given a pass for underage grooming and underage marriage 2 years later. It's kind of more of anything. It's like it just shows the racism and the double standards in America too. If a black performer was doing that, what would the outrage possibly have been back then? And I feel like there was a black performer. Was Little Richard or somebody?
Do not know. But at least Elvis wasn't Jerry Lee Lewis and doing the same thing with his cousin.
Right.
The exact same thing, but they were related.
What's with these musicians?
I know, right?
It's getting deep here.
It is.
It's getting way too deep.
But back to the film here. One interesting thing, and I think this is a great companion piece to the Baz Luhrmann film, because this way you sort of see both sides of it, right? So if you don't like Elvis, this is the perfect film to see.
Who doesn't like Elvis, though?
There's a lot of people out there that don't like Elvis, actually. But
I don't know any.
But there's tons of them out there, Matt. Who you kidding?
Never
me?
met one. You guys like Elvis?
I've never been a big fan.
I'm not a big fan.
No.
Jesus Christ. What the hell universe have I slipped into here?
But one thing that Sophia Copola does wonderful here is really showing you through the eyes of Pricilla. So we never get the glorified moments of Elvis. We get, just glimpses.
A dude in his underwear at home.
Right. We just get glimpses of him, coming and going, and you hear certain things to sort of place you where you're at in Elvis's career. And so we know where things are going. But this is really Priscilla's story and how confined and lonely it really was, being almost basically trapped in Graceland for a large part of, her existence, to the dating part anyways of dating Elvis,
Can we talk about Sophia Copola a little bit? Because I have been disappointed with her time and time again. I have not seen Pricilla yet. I will watch it because I am an Elvis fan and I want to see both sides of it. But man, oh man, like there's Lost in Translation and then the rest of her career.
Oh, BS.
Come on,
I
what do you
love
got?
Marie Antoinette.
Yep.
I think it's one of the most underrated films of that decade. Very understated. I show clip.
But can we agree that that's probably a minority opinion?
No.
Really?
No. I think she's a celebrated director for a reason.
I love
Marie
Nowhere.
Antoinette. Somewhere.
Or Somewhere, yeah.
Somewhere is excellent.
Is excellent. Very slow. Super slow. It's hard to watch in a...
I like The Beguiled.
Yeah.
The Beguiled was a remake. I went for it. I was a fan. I overall, The Bling Ring, go either way. But I overall like Sophia Coppola's movies. Like, I still to this day, if she's putting out a movie, I'm seeing the movie only based on it's a Sophia Coppola film. And I don't say that for many directors. I'm a fan of a lot, but she's in that category for me still today.
She seems like she might be in a little lull. When's The Beguiled? When did that come out? That's recent-ish.
I'm pulling up her
But
IMDb.
it seems like she might be in a little lull. I think it's over now with Priscilla. I would assume that's going to be like, for her level of directing a critical and box office success. I mean, I don't know what the budget was and what kind of numbers she needs to hit for it to be a success, but critically, I think it will do well. And yeah, I think she's an underrated director. I think she kind of purposely maybe keeps like a lower profile and doesn't,
I mean, my whole point is that I think she's overrated. We get guys like Rye the Movie Guy who go bonkers for her, and I'm thinking, why?
I think she's rated just right. I think
it's,
the praise is justified.
If she was Sophia Jones, I don't think you'd give a crap. I think it's just purely because she's Francis Ford Coppola's.
No, that's not it at all.
Nepotism. That's what I say.
It all does stem from Lost in Translation.
There's no doubt. Movie.
But
Great
it's
movie.
a masterpiece. And then you watch that movie and you're like, well, geez, I want to see what else she does. And then she follows it up and you're like, okay, I like that as well. And then you're along for the ride. That's how these things work. It doesn't matter that her last name is Coppola.
If Sophia Jones did Lost in Translation, we'd be excited about the next few films that she did. And
exactly.
Then if something jumped out at you.
The fact is, I don't know if Sophia Jones gets a chance to make a movie like Lost in Translation.
Well, if Sophia Jones' parents are, certainly doesn't maybe get the chance to make that. But if you look at like all these films and I see a film that comes out and I know absolutely nothing about it and it goes to Sundance and there's a few small names in it and you don't recognize the director's name, I can automatically almost say, list 5 colleges that they went to. And that, she went to NYU, she went to, some small liberal arts school on the East Coast, like Swarthmore or whatever. And it's like, there's certainly that sort of angle. But I think if Sophia Jones' parents got her into, the school of her choice through nepotism, then we would see it.
All right, for a jaw-dropping moment in Pricilla, I went when Pricilla actually graduates from high school in Memphis, and she asks Elvis not to come to the ceremony because it would be too big of a distraction from all the other students graduating. But he does end up coming to the back end of the school to pick her up, and it's just the teachers and nuns at that point. But even them are super excited, and there's a shot of the nuns all around Elvis getting pictures with him and autographs. It's just kind of a funny moment, which I really liked. And I would have liked what would have been a jaw-dropping moment for me, Matt, which was, I think, missing, was I would have liked a post-credit scene that showed how Pricilla landed her role in the Naked Gun movies.
Right?
I mean, this was lacking. I mean, this is how I knew Priscilla Presley as a kid, because I grew up laughing my head off at the Naked Gun movies, and my dad telling me, that was Priscilla, that's Priscilla Presley, that's Elvis Presley's wife. I had no idea. I was a kid,
Yeah, geez, I forgot about those movies. How great those movies were, man.
Fantastic. For the movie, wasn't the biggest fan. 2 1/4 jaw, dusting off the quarter. So just barely recommending for me. But I already know colleagues out there that I saw the movie with, the screening with, were big fans. So again, I think it matters a little bit where you land on.
You can
Elvis.
like both, by the way.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
It doesn't have to be one or the other, Ryan.
Right. You got to check it out, Matt.
I will.
So 2 1/4 jaws for Priscilla.
It's not Biggie, Tupac.
Right. You can like both of them too, by the way.
I know. I love both of them.
Me too.
All right, here we go. Let's play some trivia. It's
boy.
Brent's favorite time of the show. Let's see how nervous Brent is.
Cracking his knuckles.
If I could do a knuckle cracking sound.
We are going to play Quiz Lady movie trivia. Think of movies with quiz or lady in the title. It's heavy on lady, guys. It's
Yeah,
heavy
I was
on
going to
lady.
say, I can only think of like one with quiz in there.
All right, here we go. Brent, you're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first or let Matt go first. They do start off easy.
I'm going to let Matt go first and hope he fumbles.
All right. It happens.
Question
often.
1, Matt. Before the success of Barbie, Greta Gerwig directed this 2017 film that was nominated for Best Picture.
Wait. Is this kind of... Wait. It's Quiz Lady. Ladybird. Wow. I almost said Little Women.
Wow, you almost fumbled.
Yep.
I was there for the pickup.
1-0, Matt. Question 2 over to Brent. Brent, name the actress who was nominated for Best Actress for the 2018 version of A Star is Born.
Lady Gaga. I didn't get the lady part, but I get it now.
It is 1-1. Everybody's perfect. Question 3, back over to Matt K. Matt, Robert Redford directed this 1994 movie that starred Ralph Fiennes and was about the game show 21.
What year?
1994.
I'm just going to say Quiz Show.
That is correct.
That was 94?
Yeah.
That's what's blowing my mind. I thought that was like a 2000s
Yeah, I
movie.
thought that was early 2000s.
1994. Wow.
Ooh. Okay.
weird.
Yeah.
2-1, Matt K. Question 4 over to Brent. Brent, who played the lead in 1964's My Fair Lady?
Come on.
Now the tough ones. My Fair Lady.
Audrey Hepburn.
That is correct.
Wow. Damn.
Keeps it perfect. 2-2. Pressure's
That
on.
was impressive.
That was a big guess.
Pressure's on Matt K. Matt, who played Margaret Thatcher in 2011 film The Iron Lady?
There's really only two women that could have played that role, and it's either Meryl Streep or Glenn Close. And I believe it was Streep.
That is correct. 3-2. Everybody perfect on Quiz Lady movie trivia. Ooh.
We know our quiz ladies.
Go think it. Who would have thunk it? Brent, who directed the 2004 remake of The Lady Killers, which starred Tom Hanks? They were mentioned earlier on the show. Oh, boy.
I know it, but I don't know it. So, I mean, was it the Coen brothers?
That is correct.
I was going to say you were going to kick yourself over that one.
That's the only, I was trying to think of, I mean, I wondered if it was the Hughes brothers, but I was pretty sure that was the only other director I could think of.
Question number 7. Matt, name the 2019 French film that did not get nominated for Best Picture, but did just land at number 30 on the Sight and Sound Greatest Films of All Time list.
2019
French film.
That did not get nominated.
No. People were upset, but it did land at number 30 on the Sight and Sound Greatest Films of All Time list already.
2019,
just a few years ago.
Pre-pandemic.
Right.
I'm trying to think of any French film from 2019. Is it by Neon?
Wow, I believe it is by Neon. I'm almost positive you're right on that.
Is it Titan?
No. Not Titan.
Brent,
is that even a French movie?
No clues. No clues anymore.
You already gave a clue. You gave Neon as a clue. Run the question by me.
2019 French film that did not get nominated for Best Picture, but did just land at number 30 on Sight and Sound's Greatest Films of All Time list. The newest film that high up on the list already.
No, I have no clue.
No. Yeah. What is it now?
We're looking for Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh yeah,
it's
I remember the
Portrait
title.
of a Lady on Fire. It's a wonderful film. So here it is. It's 3-3, and it's the last question of the game. Over to Brent. He can win it on a walk-off. Brent,
like Pete Rose style. Get revenge.
If he wasn't banned for gambling.
Let's wow the crowd with this one. Here we go. Who played the lead, Cleveland Heap, in the 2006 film The Lady in the Water? Oh boy.
I don't have.
You do have a lifeline if you need it.
Oh yeah, we do. I didn't know we had a lifeline. What's the?
I am not drinking any fucking Merlot.
What's the lifeline?
That was the lifeline.
Gotcha. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, that's correct.
I wasn't sure if you were.
No. I thought you could see Brent. He's thinking, like, wait a minute, is this a layup or is he trying to trick me?
Right. I wasn't sure if you were trying to, ban me for life like his dad did to Pete Rose, or.
It's so funny that I set it up that way, Pete Rose style revenge, and then the answer was Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. Can I get a handshake here? Brent wins this one 4-3. If it came down, if it came down to a jawbreaker, it would have been this: age of Paul Giamatti closest to. Matt, you got to guess. How old is Paul? We're celebrating him this month.
Paulie is still yet to hit his 60th birthday. I am going to put him at. That may not be true. You know what? I'm going to take that back. I think he is over 60, but just barely. I'm going to say 61 years old.
Lock him in at 61. Brent, we got to guess.
I mean, truly, my guess was 62, so I'm just going to stick with that.
56.
Ooh.
Damn it. I should have stuck
Paul
with
Giamatti.
my guns.
He was a young, it seems like, if he was hitting it hard in the 90s with some big movies, that he would be a little bit older, but.
Yeah.
And he's always played older,
Right.
Like
exactly.
he can play an older guy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he plays that character well.
He does.
Yeah, I think
it's maturity, Ryan. It's gravitas.
The great thing is that only at 56, I think we got great years right now of Paul
Years.
Giamatti. Like
Yeah.
I think 50s to like 65, like the next 10 years are prime.
Longer.
Prime.
Look at Christopher Plummer.
Well, I'm not saying that he can't still go on. I'm just saying these are going to be prime years.
Hopefully he
the next 10
doesn't piss it away on billions.
Yeah, I hope so too. Get back into film.
Well, it brings us to the end of a very fun Jaw. First and foremost, we got to thank Brent. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. I'm always happy to be here. I can't wait to do it for. It's got to be close to time 10. We need to.
Oh yeah, we
figure it
forgot to
out.
look that
That's
up.
all right. We need.
We'll figure that one out.
We looked it up last time 2 years ago, and I think it was 8. So I think this is 9.
Yeah.
But it's either,
At 10, you get your jacket.
Impressive.
Can't wait to get my leather jacket. Yeah.
We also got to thank Phil, not here, but will be editing this episode.
Thanks, Phil.
Absolutely. Matt, we also got to thank the Patreons.
Yeah, thank you, Patreons. And if you want to join, just go to patreon.com/CinemaJaw. We do have some stuff, bonuses and all kinds of archives you can go through. Lots of fun.
Absolutely. The other way that you can support the show is by leaving us a review or at least a star rating wherever you're listening to this podcast, as those do help attract new listeners. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on jawing about the movies.